Good evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here with another tropical weather update on Violent Hurricane Milton as it begins to move closer to the west coast of Florida. Here's a current look at Milton on satellite imagery over the last couple of hours, and it has indeed rapidly to explosively intensified again. We didn't really expect such a strong second peak, but here we are. You can see your gravity waves emanating out of it. I promise this is not from yesterday. This is from today, and that image at the very end is live. You can just see that eye, all your mesovortexes swirling in there. This is going to be quite the significant situation. Now I'm going to show you the cone of uncertainty here from the National Hurricane Center. You can see Milton starting off down here as a 165 mile an hour Category 5 hurricane. It's just insane at this point that we have went through yet another peak of intensity. Milton is expected to quickly speed up as it moves off to the northeast, impacting portions like Tampa, Florida, Sarasota. It looks like going into late tomorrow night, into really early Thursday morning. It looks like 1 a.m. to be potentially exact. So a nighttime landfall. That's not good news. Hurricane warnings and hurricane watches over about probably 60-70% of Florida. This is going to likely stay all the way up to a Category 2 through almost the entirety of Central Florida. So, you all need to prepare now, and I'm being serious. And I really hate to say this too. There's a lot of people who are going to be fleeing the Tampa area, Sarasota, all in there, Fort Myers area. They're going to be moving into Central Florida. So, if you're evacuating into Central Florida, you need to batten down the hatches and prepare for this thing. Because even in your evacuated areas, you are expected to see upwards of Category 2 hurricane intensity. Means 100 mile an hour sustained winds, extraordinary, potentially even life-threatening flash flooding, and potential tornado outbreak. So even the areas you're evacuating to are not safe at this point. And that in itself makes Milton stand out from really any other storm of its kind. So again, you need to treat this like it's going to be a major hurricane ripping through your area, even if you're far inland. It appears that aircraft measures very low pressure in the eye of Milton, 905 millibars now. And if you don't know what a millibar is, it's kind of another way to measure pressure, like you do inches in mercury or stuff like that. It's just kind of a conversion in a way. See, 26.72 inches there with your pressure. That's super low. And maximum sustained winds here are near 165, maybe even 170 miles an hour. Folks, it just doesn't get better, does it? Now, I want to read through your key messages here for Hurricane Milton from the National Hurricane Center. A large area of destructive storm surge with highest inundations of 10 feet or greater is expected along a portion of the west coast of the Florida Peninsula. If you are in the storm surge warning area, this is extremely life-threatening situation. Okay? The National Hurricane Center is not messing around with this. You should evacuate today if ordered by local officials. They're being serious too about this. There will likely not be enough time to wait to leave on Wednesday. Alright? If you haven't evacuated, get out of there, please. I promise you, it's better to be safe than sorry in situations like this. You don't want to be washed out into the ocean. You especially don't want your house to be washed into the ocean while you're inside of it. Please get out of there. I can't urge you enough. Alright, point number 2. Devastating hurricane force winds are expected along portions of the west coast of Florida, where a hurricane warning is in effect. Milton is forecast to remain a hurricane as it crosses the Florida peninsula. Yes, you heard that right. Crosses the peninsula. Even inland it'll be a hurricane. Alright, and life-threatening hurricane force winds, especially in gusts, are expected to spread inland across the peninsula. They use the term life-threatening again, because it is. Preparations to protect life and property, including being ready for long-duration power outages, should be complete by tonight. Do not wait at all any longer for this. If you know you are going to be in the path of this hurricane, get ready. Point number 3. Heavy rainfall across the Florida peninsula through Thursday, brings a risk of catastrophic and life-threatening flash and urban flooding. Alright, 3 separate hazards. All 3 include the wordings of life-threatening. This is extremely rare from the National Hurricane Center for life-threatening categories in all 3 specific risk hazards. Please keep that in mind. Moderate to major river flooding, especially in areas where coastal and inland flooding combine to increase the overall flood threat. Indeed, that is the case here. But this legitimately could be one of the worst hurricanes that western Florida has received in a long time. Even inland Florida. So, yeah, not looking too great there. And I already showed you the in-depth map yesterday, and not much has changed. Or to kind of save some time, we're just going to look at our peak storm surge forecast map and kind of the static image here. Okay. Let's go from north to south here and then to east. Yeah, it's going to even hit eastern Florida as well. I'll explain why. From Indian Pass all the way to Suwannee River, we're expecting 1 to 3 feet of storm surge, so not a lot at all. From Suwannee River to Yankeetown, 2 to 4 feet. Little bit more, but still manageable. From Yankeetown to Chassahawasika, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Just kind of a crazy town name, isn't it? We're talking 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. So, definitely more significant, but you could still fairly manage it. You still should get prepared. From that area down to the Anclote River, we're talking 5 to 10 feet of storm surge. This is where it gets a lot more serious, so you need to get your preparations finalized. From the Anclote River through the Tampa Bay, down going all the way to Englewood, we're seeing 10 to 15 plus feet of storm surge. Actually, yeah, it will be plus than 15 feet, because this will likely be a lot more intense moving on shore than the models showed before. I'll show you as to why that'll happen in just a few minutes. 10 to 15 feet. That is way over your head, and in fact, that's all the way up to a 2-story house. Right? If you live right next to that purple line that's being outlined, you need to get out now. You need to evacuate, even if it's inland, I don't care, evacuate now. It seems like the local officials are forcing you to, and the National Hurricane Center is too. You should listen to that. Going from Englewood to Bonita Beach, we're talking 8 to 12 feet of storm surge. This does, in fact, include Punta Gorda, alright, Cape Coral in there, Charlotte Harbor, Port Charlotte, parts of Fort Myers. The areas that were impacted by Ian could see another 12 feet of storm surge, probably closer to 15 if this tracks further south. I don't think you could ask for a much worse scenario, to be honest. Okay, from Bonita Beach down to Chokoloskee, we're talking 5 to 8 feet. That's still quite significant. From Chokoloskee down to Flamingo, we're talking 3 to 5 feet. And how about hopping over to the other side of Florida? Exactly. Palm Beach, Martin County line, Sebastian Inlet, 1 to 3 feet, nothing much. But look at this along here. From the Sebastian Inlet all the way up to the Altamaha Sound, including portions of the St. Johns River, we're talking about roughly 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. So please prepare even along eastern Florida as well. Going from the Altamaha Sound to Edisto Beach, 2 to 4 feet, and then continuing up to the South Santee River, we're talking 1 to 3 feet. Storm surge everywhere. This is very, very serious here. Alright, and now to take a quick little break from all that, we currently have a live aircraft reconnaissance mission going into Milton right now. And the reason why I'm smiling is because this is very important data for, lower level analysis of Milton in itself. So, right now on Recon here, we're taking a look. We currently have some extraordinary winds right now. Take a look at this. 147 knots. That's about 170 miles an hour on Milton. So we do continue to see this intensify, and you can take a look there at your flight patterns. Some of your really deep, almost maroon colors coming in shape there on your wind barbs. And you can see earlier we did calculate a pressure of 904 millibars. That is extraordinarily low, and almost as low as yesterday. So let's hope this doesn't go below 900 or we're in trouble. Keep in mind though, this isn't the only recon mission ongoing. We have the Air Force mission as well. Looks like we are seeing gradual strengthening, and I want to show you this graph in particular. We're talking about winds upwards of 160 knots right now at the surface. Almost 160 at flight level as well. Want to know what that is? 180 miles an hour. This is nothing to mess around with at this point, as you can tell. So 180 miles an hour, that is what Recon is receiving right now. Okay, so now let's take a look at your hurricane model, starting with our H-Wharf. Goes out just far enough here, and you can see it looks to maintain tonight as a Category 5, possibly until late tomorrow morning, still at 919 millibars. And you can see it does begin to weaken quite a bit here, and it looks like by the time we get into tomorrow evening, could be talking about a low-end Category 4 hurricane. Do I believe this? Not really. Especially with our current data, this could be quite resilient to the conditions it has ahead of it. The only thing that'll save it is an eyewall replacement cycle, and we need that to happen now. Now, I don't know if it will, but we need it to happen. Another thing, this has a storm coming in a lot slower now. Notice this, it probably won't be at landfall until Thursday morning, so models are still very uncertain with the timing. Some are showing early tomorrow night, others are showing early Thursday morning into mid-Thursday morning. So this uncertainty needs to be resolved ASAP, because we need to know the intensity. A couple extra frames here. It does seem to weaken a lot more, but you do definitely have the chance of storm surge going to Tampa Bay still. It might not be nearly as significant if it takes this route, but, we'll just have to wait and see. It's a nowcasting situation here. Moving to your HMON model here, it initializes with flying colors, 901 millibars. That is very good for the model. Not for the people in Florida, though. And this is expected to continue strengthening tonight. 896 millibars. Because this is going to go over your warmest portion and the deepest portion of the entire Gulf of Mexico. So we will see here. If there's nothing internal going on with the hurricane, it can do this. Really intense. Tomorrow morning, we're still below 900 millibars. You can only imagine what this could look like at landfall now. We're talking a direct Category 4 landfall right near the Sarasota regions, and you have a bay right here. I'll keep this in mind. This bay could potentially, if this scenario plays out, could see over 18 feet of storm surge. That is nothing to mess around with in these conditions. Good news is this could go south of Tampa. Possibly. This model shows a last second adjustment and just complete destruction. So we're hoping for a southern scenario. If something like this happens where it goes a little further north, it could be in the matter of 3 miles of a difference. We can go from almost no surge to something this area hasn't seen in a very long time, in over a century. As Milton moves inland, you could still see it as a Category 2 hurricane right over Orlando. Walt Disneyland could be receiving this. You don't want to be out during the storm at all. And for those evacuees down there in Central Florida, you need to hang on tight. This is nothing to mess around with, even this far inland. Your Halves B model, but this is a lot more realistic up to landfall here. Sarasota, oh goodness. Tons of storm surge in that teeny tiny little inlet there. Again, probably upwards of 15, even 18 feet in that area if a scenario like this pans out. So, but Tampa Bay, you're basically saved from the worst of it. You're still expecting a ton of rain, though, which could slightly make up for the storm surge, and destructive Category 3, Category 4 force winds in the Tampa metro area. It's going to be quite grueling here, and going down further south, Fort Myers, Punta Gorda, Charlotte Harbor, lots of storm surge flowing into the bay here. Please monitor this. Well, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, if you can enjoy anything like this. I know it's been hard to comprehend the information. I've been very concerned about it, for sure. But do not panic. All right? Just get prepared now. And if you are urged to evacuate, then you better evacuate. Okay? This is nothing to mess around with at this point. Especially if it keeps strengthening tonight. All right? So with that said, this hurricane has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for West Central Florida. And I am not making that up. You see it right beneath me right now. Take this seriously. That being said, I'd highly recommend if you hit the like button on today's video. It'd greatly help out as it'd spread the word to many people across YouTube, and even feel free to share this with friends and family or on social media to get the word out a lot faster. And even subscribe if you'd wish to my little corner of the weather community. You don't have to right now. I am not begging for subs with this storm, but if you'd like to, you don't have to. And feel free to ring the bell notification icon so you know when I upload next. It's going to have to be tomorrow. It is. And hopefully I can make this update done a lot sooner and I can get the thumbnail done a lot sooner without being interrupted by the northern lights again. They're cool and all, but when there's a hurricane like this ongoing, it needs to stop distracting me. It needs to get out of here. I need to make these graphics as fast as possible, and I wasn't able to do that last night, so I apologize for a late upload. But you all have a wonderful night, and I wish you all along the west coast of Florida the best of luck, and prayers to you all.